Hi, I'm Dave Anderson. In this video, we'll review the Phillips curve, which shows the relationship between inflation and unemployment. You've seen a variety of graphs already, and it's hard to remember them all. So let's examine this one in a memorable way. Sometimes the best way to learn something is to be part of it. There's a Phillips curve out there, and we're going to run it. Right now, I'm running up the vertical axis of the Phillips curve graph, which measures the inflation rate. Going in this direction along the vertical axis represents an increase in the inflation rate. This is the horizontal axis, which measures the unemployment rate. The further we go in this direction, the higher is the unemployment rate. Now we're on the short-run Phillips curve, which illustrates the short-run trade-off between inflation and unemployment. Let's examine this trade-off with a graph we're already familiar with. An increase in aggregate demand increases the price level and the output level in the short run when the higher price level is unexpected and workers have not had enough time to adjust their wage contracts to reflect the higher price level, as discussed in the video on aggregate demand and aggregate supply. The higher price level indicates inflation, and the increase in output corresponds with a decrease in unemployment because, to make more output, firms hire more workers. When the inflation rate is higher than expected, workers eventually adjust their expectations for inflation and demand higher wages to help them pay the higher prices. The higher wages raise the cost of production, which shifts the aggregate supply curve to the left. When this happens, the short-run Phillips curve shifts upward because the price level is higher, meaning there is more inflation for any given level of output and unemployment. Each short-run Phillips curve shows the trade-off between inflation and unemployment for a given expected inflation rate. But we've seen how expectations adjust to reality, and those adjustments trigger changes in wages and aggregate supply over time. When shifts in aggregate demand or short-run aggregate supply take the economy away from long-run equilibrium at the potential output level, adjustments bring the economy back to the vertical long-run aggregate supply curve. For similar reasons, the Phillips curve is also vertical in the long run. You see, there is only one point on a short-run Phillips curve that can remain in the long run, and that is the point at the one unemployment rate that doesn't lead to adjustments in the long run. We call that the non-accelerating inflation rate of unemployment, or NAIRU. For our purposes, the NAIRU is equivalent to the natural rate of unemployment, which you might recall as the unemployment rate that exists when the economy is at its potential output level. If a change in the economy brings the inflation rate above the expected rate, either contractionary fiscal or monetary policy succeeds in reducing the inflation, or expectations and wage levels adjust over time, shifting the short-run aggregate supply curve and the short-run Phillips curve, and bringing the economy to a new long-run equilibrium at a higher rate of inflation. In exactly the same way, if expansionary fiscal or monetary policy is used to try to bring the economy above the potential output level after an initial decrease in unemployment while the price level rises, adjusted expectations and wages shift the short-run curves and bring the economy to the new long-run equilibrium. Now that you've seen the Phillips curve up close, hopefully you'll remember it well, and perhaps you'll see it everywhere you go.